Montgomery, Alabama officials are continuing their investigation into the dockside brawl that went viral online and then caught national attention.
As of yesterday evening, the two remaining suspects did surrender to the cops. 3 white men now charged with third-degree assault. There are also reports of one witness saying a racial slur during the altercation. Now, this fight erupted over the weekend after the owners of a private boat ignored warnings for almost an hour from the co-captain of a ferry to move their vessel from the spot where that riverboat currently docks and was trying to get to.
Montgomery Police Chief Darryl Albert joins us now. Welcome to the show and thanks for joining us today. So there were a lot of people involved in this fight. When you take a look at that video, I mean, it was just utter chaos from start to finish. 3 people are charged right now. Where does this investigation stand? Are there more arrests? And how difficult was it, just given just how chaotic the situation was, to kind of figure everything out?
Well, thanks for having me here today, Rob and Alex. I appreciate this opportunity to bring updates to the world on this incident. You know, this has gone viral. Of course, it's put the negative attention here in the city of Montgomery, but that's not who we are here. This city of Montgomery is a wonderful place. We have wonderful people, and it's a wonderful place to learn about the birth of the civil rights movement. And, you know, we have all that going on in the peripheral, but, you know, we have to make sure that we're slow and methodical and we get it right as far as this investigation. So, yes, you're right. There's a couple of arrests thus far. There's more that is likely. You know, we'll continue to go through the tons of video evidence provided by the public, as well as interviews of individuals that were witnesses to this melee. So we're going to continue to take our time and take it in pieces, continue to consult with our local, state, and federal partners just to make sure that we're doing all we can. And as I said over and over again, no stone will be left unturned. We will look at this thing over and over until we get it right. Now, yesterday, we had the victim, and when everyone talk about the co-captain, Mr. Damian Pickett, we had him here in the office again doing another interview. And, you know, he's just such a humble man. And look, he just want to make sure as well that we're getting it right. And his message was, we don't want anyone charged that was trying to break it up. We don't want anyone charged that was, you know, not a combatant. And he was very adamant of that. And that speaks volumes to what he's saying and what he's thinking. So we took his statements, took other statements, and we went frame by frame on the videos that we already have. And, you know, we've created a couple of places for individuals to drop additional video or additional witness statements to us. They can remain anonymous. But again, we want to make sure we get this right. And, you know, the world's watching, and we're going to make sure that justice is served and that people know what Montgomery really is, and that we're going to put this behind us someday and move forward for a better Montgomery.
And one incident, no matter how viral, does not define a city.
Correct.
So your point is well taken on that. But let me say this. You can't help but to watch the video, and in many ways, the fighting did fall on racial lines. It is Alabama, and we know the racial history of that state, past and present. And on top of that now, you have a witness saying that there was some kind of racial slur hurled during the assault, and you have the captain of that riverboat saying that he believes the initial attack, the one right there with the deckhand co-captain, was racially motivated. Are you absolutely ruling out any racial motivation behind how this fight initially began in the video we're watching right now?
You know, keep in mind, this investigation is fluid. We're far from complete. We're still in the early stages of it, believe it or not, although it's been several days now. You know, we talked to Mr. Pickett, and we interviewed him extensively, again, yesterday included. And right now, based on the thresholds of you know, an investigation leading towards racial bias, it's just not there. And you know, if it rises to that, we'll amend the charges. We're going to make it what it is. We're not going to create anything based on social media. We're not going to create anything based on anything other than what the evidence and the statements provide to us. So we're very, you know, aware that that's circulating. But again, we're gonna drive the narrative simply because of the evidence that's presented to us, simply because of the statements that's in front of us, and we'll make the proper choice at that time. But you know, again, all of the misdemeanor charges that we have right now, they can be amended and elevated as appropriate. So we're watching closely. We know the world's watching, and we want to make sure that we get it right.
And you're looking into that witness who may have heard a slur that's still being looked at by your office?
Yeah, there's a couple of folks that came in with, talked about some curse words and some obscene finger gestures. We're aware of that.
Of a racial
They'll
nature?
be getting their data. Yeah, there was some words said that was not what we would like to hear. And again, was they hurled at co-captain? Were they just being yelled in general? That's something we have to determine based on our investigation.
So when you take a look at this video, and I'm sure you've seen online how it kind of, just spread so quickly. There's memes, there's all these songs and things kind of coming out of that. But at the core of this is a very serious incident, and there are people that could have been seriously hurt. What is your message to people who are kind of taking this a little bit lightly, especially with the racial undertones that appear to be there, especially when you watch the video?
Well, you said it earlier. This is Alabama. We know that right now the nation, is really paying attention to what's happening politically. Yeah, there's no doubt that former President Trump was here the day before. All of that is on our table in front of us, making sure that we're aware of those things. So we're weighing all of the evidence. And again, talking with the victim here, Mr. Pickett, making sure that he's comfortable with where we're going. But again, looking at the threshold to charge someone with a federal hate crime. I mean, we have to make sure we're within those guidelines. We must make sure the threshold is met. At this time, we have not met it. At this time, the evidence does not meet it. So again, if it changes, we'll amend those charges. But we're looking at it very closely with a very strict lens, and we have everyone participating with us. Again, local, state, and federal partners. We'll continue to get advice from them. We'll continue to put things out on the table. Internally, we have a whole team dedicated to this. They're combing over the hours of video that we've since received. And again, I'm aware of it. My team's aware of it. We're making sure that the world is aware of where we are every step of the way.
And also some reporting, in the Washington Post today, that the captain of that riverboat says those guys in the pontoon boat who wouldn't move initially, he had known them in the past as well. There were at least one other incident, but of a much lesser nature, some missing golf carts from the riverboat or something like that. And otherwise, there was a little bit of history between this riverboat and the guys who wouldn't move. So I'm sure you guys are exploring that as well. Just before we let you go, two practical matters. Are you waiting? What one of the more, if not the most famous part of that video was what we saw with the folding chair and that woman getting hit very hard with the folding chair. That became kind of part of all kinds of memes and things. Are you looking for that gentleman? Is he potentially facing charges? And my understanding is he's not turned himself in. And then part two, why didn't those guys just move the boat that the riverboat was trying to dock? Why did that become an adversarial thing to begin with?
Well, I'll start with the first that you mentioned. Initially when this all came up and we did our first press briefing, I did not have the knowledge at the time that these individuals had been in some kind of contact in the past. But again, speaking with the co-captain, he informed us, subsequently informed us that they had some interaction in the past. Never turned physical, mostly just arguments about parking at the dock and, docking where they did. So that was something that's been brought to us and that we're looking at very closely. Secondly, we look at what happened in the past and how this is supposed to be. That area is strictly reserved for that ferry boat. It's there because of the tying off the mooring requirements as well as the gangway. You have to have a place to board and disembark that vessel. So it's clearly stated and it's clearly known that that's where the Harrier 2 is supposed to be docked. So that's a problem, and that's something that we're going to make some changes here in the city for some better signage, if you will, and to just make sure that that doesn't happen again. Again, this incident, as it unfolds, we're going to get to the bottom of it. We're going to close it out, and then we're going to move forward. We're going to move forward as a city. So that's where we are at this point. We'll continue to go through the hours and
the
hours.
The gentleman with the folding
video,
chair. I'm sorry. I know I asked a two-part question. The gentleman with the folding chair, is he central to this?
Yeah, I'm getting to that.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, so we've identified that individual. We have made contact with him, and we'll be talking with him tomorrow. He's going to come in and sit down with us and our investigators, and we'll see where that leads us. I'm not going to be premature on it, but I can tell you we've reached out to him. We've made contact. We've talked with him. He'll be here in our police headquarters tomorrow with our investigators, and we'll be conducting those interviews, and we'll make sure we inform the public of where that goes.
And just based on the early reporting, how this went down was that the riverboat was trying to dock in its rightful place. The pontoon boat was in the way. They used the PA system 5 or 6 times to say, please move, threatened to call the cops. The guys in the pontoon boat gave him the middle finger, and that's when they called the cops, and things escalated from there, is the early reporting. Last question, I swear. Did alcohol play a role in any of this?
Well, surely there was alcohol out there, between the folks that was on the ferry boat and the folks that was on the pontoon boat, So, yeah, we believe, and Mr. Reggie said that, the victim that we all since get to know, that he said that he believed alcohol. He can smell alcohol between the folks on the pontoon boat as well as some folks that was on the cruise ship. So that was on both sides. But again, this started out, as that Harrier 2, that cruise ship sat out there in the water 40 to 45 minutes. Pleading with those individuals to move that pontoon boat via the PA system. And it was at that time the captain asked the co-captain to get on a smaller vessel, get over to the dock, and see what he can do to kind of reason with those individuals and maybe even move it. And that's what happened. The co-captain simply pushed the boat out of the way just enough feet to where there could be safe docking of the cruise ship. And when that happened, those individuals from the pontoon boat came up and engaged in a fistic encounter that we've all since seen. So it was wrong. Again, it's not indicative of who we are. Keep in mind that the individuals on that pontoon boat are not Montgomeryans. They're not from this particular area. They were here visiting. And again, to stress the point that that's not who we are as Montgomeryans. That's not what we promote. And look, we're gonna continue to promote this riverfront. It's a wonderful place. It's a great place for outings. Look, there was a back to school event taking place up there on that river at the time. There was a couple of events involving the Montgomery public school system, and we had officers right there. The response was fantastic in terms of the timing. It took police officers to get on scene, but it's a great area. It's an area. We had good weather out there, and we're going to continue to ask folks to come out and enjoy what Montgomery has to offer.
All right, Montgomery Police Chief Darryl Albert, thank you for joining us. We'll be right back.